I found pills in her purse that belonged to my biggest competitor. What I discovered next destroyed my 18-year marriage and turned my cheating wife's affair into the most toxic nightmare of her life. She thought I was predictable. She had no idea what I was capable of. My name is Elias Thorne. I'm 47 years old. And until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I own Thorne Digital Solutions, an IT consulting firm I built from scratch in London, England. Sophia and I have been married for 18 years, and we have 3 kids. Julian, 17, Clara, 14, and Lucas, 11. It was a Tuesday evening when everything changed. Sophia had rushed out to her yoga class, leaving her purse on the kitchen counter. Lucas needed lunch money for his field trip, and she told me to grab 20 pounds from her wallet. I opened her purse and immediately felt something was off. Hidden in a small zipper pocket were 2 pill bottles. One contained blue tablets I didn't recognize, and the other held sample packets of personal lubricant. My hand started shaking as I read the prescription label. The pills belonged to someone named Arthur Kingsley. Arthur Kingsley, VP of Strategic Development at Sterling & Grant, our biggest competitor. Sophia had mentioned him several times over the past year, always praising his brilliance and market understanding. I stood there in my kitchen holding evidence of my wife's betrayal. The pills were clearly performance enhancers, and the lubricant samples told a story I didn't want to believe. But the worst part wasn't what I'd found. It was realizing how long this had probably been going on. The late nights at client dinners, the weekend conferences in Manchester and Birmingham, the way she'd started showering immediately when she got home, the new lingerie I never got to see her wear. Instead of confronting her, I took pictures of everything with my phone, carefully noting the prescription details. Then I put everything back exactly where I found it and started planning. Over the next few days, I started paying attention to details I've been blind to before. The way she protected her phone like it contained state secrets, how she'd started doing our family's financial planning alone, claiming she wanted to take some burden off my shoulders. That last part bothered me most. Sophia handling our finances meant she had access to everything. Our business accounts, the kids' college funds, our retirement savings. I found pills in her purse, and now I was going to make sure my swap turned her affair toxic in ways she never saw coming. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 18 years of marriage. I started investigating my own wife. While Sophia was getting ready for work, humming some tune like she didn't have a care in a world, I was already 3 steps ahead of her lies. Elias, honey, I'll be late tonight. Sophia called from the bathroom. Arthur wants to discuss the Beaumont account over dinner. Arthur, there was that name again. Sure thing, Elias replied, keeping my voice steady. Don't wait up for me either. I've got some late client calls. That was line number 1 from me, but it wouldn't be the last. After she left, I went straight to my home office and pulled up our financial records. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 6 months, Sophia had been moving money out of our joint accounts in small increments. 500 pounds here, 1,000 pound there. Nothing big enough to trigger alerts, but it added up to nearly 15,000 pounds. But that wasn't the worst part. She'd been accessing my business accounts, too, downloading client lists and project details. Information that would be gold to a competitor like Sterling & Grant. I picked up my phone and called Ben Carter, my oldest friend and the best private investigator in London. We'd known each other since high school, and he owed me a favor from when I'd helped his kid get into LSE. Ben, I need a favor, I said when he answered. And it needs to stay between us. What's going on, Elias? Ben asked. I think Sophia is having an affair with Arthur Kingsley from Sterling and Grant. I need to know everything. Where they meet, how long it's been going on, and whether she's been sharing business information. Ben whistled low. That's heavy stuff, brother. You sure you want to go down this road? I'm sure, Elias replied. My kids' college funds are at stake here, not just my marriage. That afternoon, I made another call that surprised even me. I contacted George Ellis, our family lawyer and fellow church member. George had handled our wills and business contracts for years. George, I need some hypothetical advice, I said, sitting in my car outside Lucas's school. If someone were feeding confidential business information to a competitor while also embezzling from joint accounts, what would be the best way to protect assets during a divorce? George was quiet for a moment. Elias, is everything okay at home? Just covering all my bases, I said. You know how the tech business is, always planning for worst-case scenarios. Well, hypothetically speaking, you'd want to document everything, freeze joint accounts, and file for legal separation before they could move more assets. You'd also want to consider whether industrial espionage was involved. Industrial espionage. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. That evening, Sophia came home at midnight, claiming the dinner had run long. She kissed my forehead like nothing had changed, but I could smell unfamiliar cologne on her clothes. How was your meeting? I asked casually. Oh, you know how these business dinners go, Sophia said, avoiding eye contact. Lots of talk, not much substance. More lies. But I let it slide because I was building a case now, not having a marriage. The next day, Ben called with preliminary findings. Elias, you're not going to like this. Kingsley and your wife have been meeting regularly for 8 months. Hotel records show they've been to Manchester, Birmingham, and Bristol together, always booked under business expenses from both companies. 8 months while I was working 16-hour days to build our future, Sophia was systematically destroying it. There's more, Ben continued. Kingsley's been promoted twice this year. Word is he's been bringing in insider information about local tech firms. Information that's helped Sterling and Grant land 3 major contracts. My contracts, deals I'd lost to Sterling and Grant because they somehow knew exactly what to bid. I hung up and sat in my office, staring at the family photo on my desk. Julian, Clara, and Lucas smiled back at me from last year's vacation to the Highlands. They had no idea their mother was a traitor, but they were going to find out soon enough. By Wednesday, I had everything I needed to destroy Arthur Kingsley and expose my wife's betrayal. Ben's surveillance had confirmed what I suspected. Sophia and Arthur met every Tuesday and Thursday at the Grand Central Hotel downtown. They've been using the same room for 3 months, always booked under fake company expenses, but I wasn't ready to confront them yet. I wanted irrefutable proof, the kind that would hold up in court and protect my kid's future. That evening, while Sophia was at another late client meeting, I made my move. I carefully opened her purse and examined those pills again. This time, I was prepared. I'd spent the afternoon at 3 different pharmacies, buying what I needed. I replaced Arthur's blue pills with identical-looking tablets that contained nothing but food coloring and a mild stomach irritant. Completely harmless, but guaranteed to cause embarrassing digestive issues. The lubricant samples got a special treatment, too. I emptied them and refilled them with a mixture that would turn bright green when heated and cause a burning sensation from capsaicin extract. My swap turned her affair toxic, literally. I also planted a small recording device in her purse hidden inside what looked like a broken lipstick tube. If they were sharing business secrets, I wanted every word documented. Daddy, are you okay? Clara asked, finding me in the kitchen at midnight. You've been acting weird lately. My 14-year-old daughter had always been perceptive. Just work stress, sweetheart, Elias replied. But I need you to do something for me. If your mom asks about my schedule or where I am, just tell her you don't know. Can you do that? Clara studied my face. Is Mom in trouble? Not yet, I said, but she might be soon. The next morning, Sophia was practically bouncing with excitement. Elias, I have another dinner meeting tonight. Arthur thinks we might have a breakthrough on the Beaumont project. That's great, honey, I said, pouring my coffee. You two work so well together. If she caught the sarcasm in my voice, she didn't show it. While she was getting ready for work, I checked our business server logs. Sure enough, someone had accessed our client database at 2:17 a.m. the night before, downloading contact lists and project specifications. The access came from Sophia's laptop. I forwarded the evidence to George Ellis with a simple message. Time to freeze the accounts. That afternoon, Ben called with an update. Elias, you need to hear this. I followed Kingsley yesterday, and he met with 3 other Sterling and Grant executives at lunch. They were discussing something called Operation Clean Sweep. Apparently, a plan to acquire smaller tech firms by underbidding them using insider information. My company was target number 1 on their list. There's more, Ben continued. I did some digging on Kingsley's finances. He's been making cash deposits that don't match his salary. Someone's been paying him under the table for information. The pieces were falling into place. Sophia wasn't just having an affair. She was part of a corporate espionage operation that threatened everything I'd built. That evening, I waited. Sophia came home at 11:30, and I could tell immediately that something had gone wrong. Her face was flushed, her clothes were wrinkled, and she kept scratching at her neck. "How was dinner?" I asked innocently. "Fine," she snapped, heading straight for the bathroom. "Just tired." Through the thin walls, I could hear her cursing under her breath. The shower ran for 20 minutes. When she finally came to bed, she was still scratching. "I think I'm allergic to something," she muttered. "Maybe you should see a doctor," Elias suggested. "You never know what kind of chemicals they use in those fancy restaurants." She gave me a sharp look, but said nothing. Phase 1 was complete, but I was just getting started. The next morning brought exactly what I've been waiting for. Sophia woke up with angry red welts across her neck and chest, clearly visible above her silk pajama top. She stood at the bathroom mirror, dabbing concealer over the irritated skin. "This is ridiculous," she muttered. "I look like I have some kind of disease." "Maybe you picked up something at that hotel restaurant," I suggested, watching her reaction carefully. Sophia froze for just a second, long enough to confirm that she knew exactly which hotel I was talking about. "I wasn't at a hotel," she said quickly. "We ate at that new place on Regent Street. Line number 57. But who is counting?" My phone buzzed with a text from Ben. "Package delivered to your office. You're going to want to see this." At Thorn Digital Solutions, Ben was waiting with a manila envelope thick enough to end a marriage. "Audio recordings from yesterday's meeting," he said grimly, "and photos that leave nothing to the imagination." I opened the envelope with steady hands, though my heart was pounding. The photos show Sophia and Arthur in that hotel room, but more importantly, they showed documents spread across the bed, my company's client lists, project timelines, and financial projections. The audio was even more damning. Arthur's voice came through clearly with this Beaumont account information. "We can underbid them by exactly 12%. Sophia, you're saving my career here." And then my wife's voice, breathless and satisfied. "Elias has no idea. He trusts me completely. The fool thinks I'm just being supportive of his business." I sat in my office chair, listening to 18 years of marriage dissolve into corporate espionage and casual cruelty. But instead of rage, I felt something else. Clarity. George Ellis arrived an hour later with legal documents that would change everything. "Elias, based on the evidence you've provided, we can file for divorce on grounds of adultery and fraud. The financial theft and corporate espionage give us leverage to protect your assets and ensure custody of the children." "How soon?" I asked. "I can have papers ready by tomorrow," George said. "But are you sure you want to move this fast? Once we file, there's no going back." I thought about my kids. Julian studying for his SATs. Clara practicing violin for her school concert. Lucas excited about his upcoming football season. They deserved a father who fought for them, not one who rolled over and accepted betrayal. "File the papers," I said. "And George, I want her served publicly. She likes to conduct business at the Imperial Hotel downtown. Make sure she gets them there in front of her colleagues." George smiled grimly. "Elias, remind me never to cross you." That evening, Sophia came home earlier than usual, clearly uncomfortable. The green staining on her skin had worsened, and she kept touching her neck like it was on fire. "I made a doctor's appointment," she announced. "This rash is getting worse." "Good idea," I said, not looking up from my laptop. "You should definitely get checked out. Never know what kind of infections you might pick up." She stared at me suspiciously, but said nothing. Later that night, after she'd finally fallen asleep despite her obvious discomfort, I uploaded all the evidence to a secure cloud server. Photos, audio recordings, financial records, server logs, everything George would need to destroy her in court. I also did something that surprised even me. I created a detailed dossier on Arthur Kingsley and Sterling and Grant's industrial espionage operation, complete with dates, amounts, and documentation of stolen contracts. Then I packaged it all up and scheduled it to be delivered to the National Crime Agency's Economic Crime Unit. If Sophia wanted to play in the big leagues, she was about to learn that the game had serious consequences. Tomorrow, the real reckoning would begin. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day. I was in my office when George Ellis called at exactly 9:15 a.m. "It's done," George said. Sophia was served the divorce papers at the Imperial Hotel right in the middle of her breakfast meeting with 3 Sterling and Grant executives. I allowed myself a small smile. How'd she take it? Let's just say the entire restaurant heard her reaction. George replied. The server said she turned white, then red, then started screaming about harassment and illegal surveillance. And the executives, they left immediately. Word is already spreading through the London business community. An hour later, my phone started ringing. First, it was Ben with updates from his surveillance team. Elias, Sophia just stormed into Sterling and Grant's offices. Security had to escort her out after she started yelling at Arthur Kingsley in the lobby. Then my daughter Clara called from school. Dad, Mom just showed up here, demanded take me and Lucas home. I told the principal what you said about not going anywhere with her. Good girl, I said. Stay at school. I'll pick you up at normal time. By noon, the story had leaked to the Central Texas Gazette. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your wife's affair with Sterling VP exposed in divorce filing. Industrial espionage allegations rock local tech scene. Arthur Kingsley lasted until 2 p.m. before Sterling and Grant announced his immediate resignation to pursue other opportunities. Translation: they fired him to avoid the scandal. Sophia finally called me at 3:30, her voice shaking with rage. Elias, you've destroyed everything. My career, my reputation. You destroyed it yourself, I interrupted. I just turned on the lights. This isn't over, she hissed. You're right, I said calmly. Tomorrow, the NCA gets copies of everything. Industrial espionage is a federal crime. Sophia. The line went dead. That evening, Julian came home from his part-time job looking confused. Dad, is it true Mom was stealing from your company? I sat my 17-year-old son down and told him everything. He listened without interrupting, his face growing harder with each detail. She betrayed all of us. Julian said finally, not just you. Yes, she did. I agreed. But we're going to be okay. The 3 of you are what matters now. By Wednesday, Sophia's entire professional network was falling apart. Ben called with updates that would have been satisfying if they weren't so devastating to watch. The Sterling and Grant situation is worse than we thought. Ben reported. Internal audit found evidence of at least 6 other companies they've been stealing information from. The NCA raided their offices this morning. What about Sophia? She's lawyered up. Some hotshot from Manchester who specializes in white-collar crime. But Elias, her own firm, is distancing themselves. They put her on administrative leave pending investigation. That afternoon, I got an unexpected visitor. Helena Morris, president of St. Michael's Parish's Women's Ministry and Sophia's former friend, stood on my doorstep looking uncomfortable. Elias, I need to apologize, Helena said. Sophia asked me to lie for her about where she was on several occasions. I thought she was planning surprise parties or something innocent. It's not your fault, Helena, I replied. She fooled all of us. The church leadership wants you to know that you and the children have our full support, Helena continued. We're organizing meal deliveries and childcare help. Community support, I hadn't expected, was pouring in from everywhere. My neighbor Bob offered to help with yard work. The parents from Lucas's football team stepped up to handle carpools. Even my business competitors were reaching out with quiet support. That evening, Clara made an announcement at dinner. Dad, I want to change my last name. I don't want to be associated with what Mom did. Sweetheart, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Clara interrupted. She stole from our family. She betrayed everything we stand for. I'm proud to be a thorn, not whatever she's become. Julian nodded in agreement. Same here, Dad. Even 11-year-old Lucas, who still didn't fully understand everything, said, I want to keep the same name as you. And Clara and Julian. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my home office reviewing the financial damage. Despite everything Sophia had stolen, Thorn Digital Solutions would survive. We'd lost some clients to Sterling's insider bidding, but we'd gained others who respected how I'd handled the crisis. My phone buzzed with a text from an unlisted number. You think you've won? This isn't over. I deleted the message without responding. Sophia could threaten all she wanted from whatever hole she crawled into. The truth had done its work, and my family was stronger for it. Friday morning brought visitors I'd been expecting. 2 NCA agents in dark suits stood on my doorstep at 8 a.m. sharp, badges gleaming in the London sunshine. Mr. Thorne, I'm Agent Patricia Davis. This is Agent Michael Torres. We'd like to discuss the evidence you provided regarding Sterling and Grant. I invited them into my home office where I prepared everything they'd need. Agents, I've documented 8 months of industrial espionage. My wife was the inside source. Agent Davis reviewed the files methodically. These audio recordings are remarkable quality. How did you obtain them? Hidden recording device in my wife's purse, I said. Perfectly legal in England since I suspected criminal activity. Agent Torres looked up from the financial documents. Mr. Thorne, we've been investigating Sterling and Grant for 6 months. Your evidence ties together cases involving 12 other companies. How bad is it? Sterling and Grant stole over £4 million in contracts using insider information. Agent Davis replied, your wife and Arthur Kingsley are central figures in a federal conspiracy case. That afternoon, Ben called within. Update that made my day. Elias, Sophia just tried to withdraw money from your kids' college funds. The bank froze the accounts per court order. She's apparently living in some cheap motel near the airport. What about Arthur? Unemployed and toxic. No firm in London will touch him after the scandal broke. Sunday brought unexpected redemption. Pastor Williams approached me after church service. His face serious but supportive. Elias, the congregation wants you to know we're behind you completely. He said, what Sophia did violates everything we believe about marriage and integrity. I appreciate that, Pastor. There's more. The church board voted to ask you to join our finance committee. We need men of proven character handling our funds. That evening, Julian made an announcement that filled me with pride. Dad, I've been accepted to LSE's business program. I want to work at Thorne Digital Solutions after graduation. Son, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Julian interrupted. Mom tried to destroy what you built. I want to help make it stronger. Clara nodded in agreement. We're Team Thorne now, Dad. Even Lucas, still processing everything, said, can I work at your company, too, when I grow up? Absolutely. I said, pulling all 3 kids into a hug. This company exists for the Thorne family. Later that night, I received a call from an unexpected source, Arthur Kingsley himself. Elias, we need to talk. Arthur said, his voice shaky. I have information about Sophia you need to know. I'm listening. She's planning something. Revenge against you and your family. She blames you for destroying her life. What kind of revenge? I don't know specifics, but she's been talking about making you pay. She's desperate, Elias. Desperate people do dangerous things. I thanked Arthur and hung up, then immediately called my security company. If Sophia wanted war, she'd find the Thorne family ready. Monday morning brought chaos I should have anticipated. Clara called from school, her voice tight with anxiety. Dad, Mom's here. She's in the principal's office demanding custody rights. She looks terrible, like she hasn't slept in days. I'm on my way, I said, already grabbing my keys. Don't go anywhere with her. Understand? I won't, but Dad, she's acting really strange. Like scary strange. I arrived at the school to find Sophia in the hallway arguing with Principal Henderson and school security. She looked like a woman unraveling. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, wild eyes that held too much desperation. Elias, she screamed when she saw me. Tell them I have rights. Those are my children. Sophia, you need to leave, I said calmly. The court order is clear. This is your fault, she shrieked. You destroyed everything. My career, my reputation, my future. Principal Henderson stepped between us. Mrs. Thorne, you need to exit school property immediately or we'll call the police. I already did, said Officer Janet Mills, arriving with backup. Ma'am, you're violating a restraining order. As they led Sophia away in handcuffs, she turned back to me with eyes full of hatred. This isn't over, Elias. You'll pay for what you did to me. That afternoon, Agent Davis called with news that put everything in perspective. Mr. Thorne, we've arrested your wife on federal charges. She was carrying forged documents attempting to access your business accounts. How serious are the charges? Wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. She's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum. That evening, I sat my children down for what I hoped would be our final family crisis meeting. Your mother was arrested today, I said gently. She's facing serious federal charges that will likely result in prison time. Lucas started crying. Despite everything, she was still his mother. Clara and Julian comforted their little brother while Julian just looked relieved. What happens to us now? Clara asked. We rebuild. I said firmly. We focus on our family, our business, and our future. The Thorn name means integrity, hard work, and loyalty to each other. Will we ever see Mom again? Lucas asked. Through his tears. Someday maybe, I said honestly. But that depends on choices she makes in the future. Later that night, George Ellis called with the final legal updates. Elias, the divorce is finalized. You have full custody and all marital assets are protected. The law is signed. Everything from jail. Is it really over? The legal part is. But Elias, you did something remarkable here. You protected your family and your business without compromising your integrity. Your kids will remember that. I hung up and walked through my quiet house, checking on each sleeping child. Julian, already planning his future, Thorn Digital. Clara, fierce and loyal, determined to honor the family name. Lucas, hurt but healing, surrounded by siblings who'd protect him. Sophia had tried to destroy us, but she'd only made us stronger. 2 months after Sophia's arrest, life had settled into a rhythm I never expected to enjoy. The house felt peaceful without the constant tension of wondering what she was hiding. My kids were thriving in ways that surprised even me. Julian had started working part-time at Thorn Digital Solutions, learning the business from the ground up. His natural talent for problem-solving reminded me why I built this company in the first place, to create something lasting for my family. Dad, I have an idea for expanding our cybersecurity services, Julian said over dinner. After what happened with Mom and the data theft, a lot of companies are worried about insider threats. Tell me more, I said, impressed by his thinking. We could offer comprehensive security audits, including employee monitoring and access controls. Turn our bad experience into a business opportunity. Clara had channeled her anger about her mother's betrayal into academic excellence. Her grades improved dramatically once the stress of living with lies disappeared. I'm thinking about studying computer science, she announced. I want to help protect families from people like Mom. Even Lucas was showing signs of emotional recovery. He'd stopped asking when Mommy was coming home and started talking about his future plans with excitement. The business was thriving beyond my expectations. Word had spread throughout London's tech community about how I'd handled the corporate espionage situation. Instead of being seen as a victim, I was viewed as a leader who'd protected the entire industry. George Ellis called with the final legal update. Elias, Sophia plead guilty to all federal charges. She'll serve 4 years minimum with no possibility of early parole. What about contact with the kids? She waived all parental rights as part of the plea agreement. She knows she lost them permanently when she chose Arthur over her family. That evening, I found myself thinking about the future instead of dwelling on the past. The pain of betrayal was fading, replaced by pride in how my family had survived and grown stronger. Pastor Williams had been right when he said that sometimes God uses difficult situations to reveal people's true character. Sophia had shown hers and my children had shown theirs. Ben called with one final piece of news. Elias, Arthur Kingsley was found dead in his apartment yesterday. Apparent suicide left a note apologizing for destroying so many lives. I felt no satisfaction in Arthur's death, only sadness for the waste of human potential. He'd chosen the easy path of dishonesty and paid the ultimate price. Dad, Clara appeared in my office doorway. Are you okay? I'm better than okay, sweetheart, I said, pulling her into a hug. We all are. Do you ever miss her? Clara asked quietly. I miss who I thought she was, I replied honestly. But I don't miss the lies, the betrayal, or the constant worry about what she was really doing. We're better without her, Clara said firmly. Yes, I agreed. We absolutely are. 8 months later, I stood in my office looking at a family photo that told the real story of survival and success. Julian in his LSE graduation cap, having finished his degree early while working at the company. Clara holding her national honor society certificate. Lucas with his Little League championship trophy. The Thorn family had not just survived. We've thrived. Thorn Digital Solutions had expanded into 3 new markets, with our insider threat protection services becoming the most requested offering in London. Companies wanted security solutions from the man who'd successfully exposed and defeated a real corporate espionage ring. Julian officially joined the company full-time after graduation, bringing fresh ideas and energy that reminded me why I'd started this business. He'd implemented security protocols that made us the most trusted IT firm in Central England. "Dad, I have news," Clara announced at Sunday dinner. "I got early admission to Imperial College London's computer science program." "Congratulations, sweetheart," I said, beaming with pride. "Your mother always said you were the smartest one in the family." "She was right about that," Clara replied. "Just wrong about everything else." Lucas, now 12 and increasingly mature, had his own announcement. "Dad, I want to learn programming this summer. Julian said he'd teach me." "That's a great idea, buddy," I said. Technology runs in the Thorn blood. The doorbell rang, interrupting our celebration. I opened it to find a delivery man with an official-looking envelope. Inside was a letter from the UK Small Business Federation informing me that Thorn Digital Solutions had been selected as the state's Small Business of the Year. "We did it," I said, showing the letter to my kids. "We didn't just survive what your mother tried to do to us. We became stronger because of it." That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my home office reflecting on the journey. Sophia had tried to destroy everything I'd built, but she'd only taught me what really mattered. Integrity, family loyalty, and the strength that comes from facing truth instead of running from it. My phone buzzed with a text from Ben. "Saw the business award announcement. Your grandfather would be proud." He was right. I protected the family legacy and built something even stronger for the next generation. The Thorn name now meant more than just successful business. It meant a family that couldn't be broken by betrayal. A man who fought for his children and a legacy built on unshakable integrity. Sophia had lost everything. Her freedom, her children, her reputation, and her future. I'd gained something more valuable than she ever understood. The unbreakable bond of a family that had been tested by fire and emerged stronger. That was worth more than any marriage built on lies ever could have been.